Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Marcelo here, and it's great to have you guys back. Welcome to the Future Pastor Podcast. And today, my guest is Pastor Filipe Manoel. Filipe Manoel was born in Brazil, in the countryside of Brazil, and he was always a member of the Presbyterian Church in Brazil. He loved sports from a very early age, and that opened doors for him to be able to share the gospel throughout the world. He is now a pastor in Florida, and he's going to tell us his story that I'm sure is going to really help you in your life as a future pastor as well. Make sure you like this video if you're watching on YouTube, share, comment, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to this in another app, Spotify or the like, please leave a comment, like the video, and share it to help support the Future Pastor Podcast. Let's get into it.
I have doubts about when I got converted because it wasn't a real big shift in my life at the time. I just remember like one day where the conviction of how sinful I was struck me, and then I believe it was about at the age of 12, and then just following the Lord and learning with my youth pastor. And in one opportunity, this youth pastor who was discipling me, he invited the teenagers and the youth from the church to come and help in a sports camp that he was part of. He was a missionary for crew. It's a ministry called Athletes in Action, which is a crew ministry.
Yeah.
And I loved sports, I loved camps, and I wanted to be part of it. So I asked him if I could go. I was a little bit younger than the age they were looking for, but he said, "Yeah, you can come to wash some dishes." So, so I was there and happy to be there. And they were bringing a team from the US to teach some basketball to teenagers and youth people, and they use that as a platform to share the gospel. And I felt like, oh, this is perfect because I really want to share my faith. I believe Jesus is the Lord and Savior, and this is what we're meant to do as believers. But at the same time, I loved sports. I wanted to become a professional athlete, those kind of things. I think most Brazilian kids grow up willing or trying to be a soccer player. So that's my story as well. And then when I got there, I saw I could put it together, sports and the Lord, or sharing the gospel. So when I saw it, I got passionate about it. I got in love with the strategy, using sports as a platform, and I decided I wanted to be a missionary for that organization specifically at
Mm.
the age of 15. So I went on, studied physical education in Rio Claro. That's another city that was like 1 hour away from my hometown. And then afterwards, I was sent to Senegal by the IPB mission organization for 3 months as an experience. I was like a soccer coach
Wow.
because I was in a country where you could not share your faith with youth people like under 18 years old. But I had the privilege of doing so through the sports. And then I taught everything I knew about how to use the platform of sports to reach out people. And I taught national how to do it, who was a believer, who was a soccer coach and wanted to do it. And after that, I came back to my city. And as I was working in different areas, the Lord talked to me. I, I don't know. It is hard to say the Lord talked to me when you don't hear a voice. But now that I can look backwards, look back to the past,
Mhm.
I know for sure that it was the Lord, like convincing me that He had He wanted to use my life somewhere else. So I asked my family to pray with me about it, and as they started to pray, like before 1 week was completed. I got two phone calls, and uh, I believed that's what the Lord used to convince me that I should leave my job and join Athletes in Action. One of these calls were from the national director
Mm.
of Athletes in Action at that time, which used to be my youth pastor that I mentioned.
Okay.
Now he was the director. He wasn't at the time, but now he was, like, years later,
Mm.
probably 10 years later. And then he said, we're gonna host here in Brazil the Olympics and the World Cup 2014, the World Cup 2016, the Olympics.
Mhm.
So we have a lot of projects, and we would use a guy like you in the team. So started praying even more about it, because I had to know for sure he wasn't just the guy inviting me, but that's what the Lord was, where the Lord was leading me. And as I prayed, I realized that's what I should do. So I quit my job and I joined staff in 2013.
Mm.
Worked a lot in these projects during the World Cup and the Olympics. And at that time, Athletes in Action was using Brazil as a model of a strategy that they wanted to do in other countries as well, which is called church sports ministry.
Mhm.
Athletes in Action is uh, well known to connect with high level athletes around the world,
Mm.
but they wanted to go now through the church and use and teach the church how to use sports as a platform to reach the lost. So when we have done that, we had a lot of success in what we have done. We encouraged a lot of churches. They used our material, our training, our strategy, and they were able to reach out to a lot of people and share the gospel, and got a lot of stories of people getting converted at that time. So we got invited to come to Ohio to join the international team as they wanted to spread that strategy to other countries. Athletes in Action has presence in 50 plus countries.
Mm.
So we came. That's how we came to America in 2018.
Mhm.
And as I was there for 3 years, it was great. We were ready to train the national leaders with this strategy,
Mhm.
church sports ministry. And then COVID came and changed all the plans. But one of my plans, and I made that clear to the international director when I got invited, was to study in America,
Mm.
because most of the pastors that I looked towards and said, "Oh, this is a great pastor," they had this in common. They all came to America to study. So I
Okay.
said, maybe going to America, that could be a thing for me, like to learn from them. But I didn't want at that time to be a pastor. I just want to have more knowledge on theology and the sound doctrine to be able to be a better missionary where I was.
Yeah.
But 3 years later, after we moved, uh, an uncle of mine said, "Hey, I studied for a little bit at RTS, and I still know a professor's name there. You should connect with him." And when I did, I connected to Dr. Glotto at RTS Orlando, and he said, "Oh, this is great. If you need a scholarship, you have to talk to this guy, because I cannot give you anything." And I was asking for a scholarship because I didn't have the means to afford a seminary, an MD program.
Mm.
And then he said, and I'm also sending you a Brazilian pastor's phone because he's a student here. He can be a good connection for you moving to Florida. Said that's great. And then when I talked to the guy about scholarship, the guy at RTS that are responsible for it, he
Yeah.
said, "We have the only thing we have for you is if a church pays a third of your tuition, we can give you a third of scholarship, and you can know, and you have to pay only a third of your tuition by yourself."
Mm.
I said, "Great, but what church would be willing to pay a third of my tuition? Like, my church in Ohio could not afford anything
Mhm.
like that. My church back in Brazil, even less, because they could not even think about paying something in dollar with
Yeah.
the money exchange." So we were kind of discouraged, thinking it was not going to happen. But I said, "Well, all I have is this contact of this pastor in Florida. I'll talk to him." And when I talked to him, he was willing to meet through internet. I was in Ohio, he was in Florida, and when I joined a Zoom call, he was there with another pastor. So the first pastor was Adriano Silva, really good friend. Now he became a really good friend.
Mhm.
And the other pastor was Samuel Vitalino. They were both planting a church together. And
Yeah.
they said, well, we don't have any money for you. We have no money, but we want to have you on the team. Like you would be a great youth leader for us.
Yeah.
I said, good, but I need to pay for my tuition.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we'll make a way. I'll talk to some contacts and see what we can do. To summarize, because this is a long story now, but long story short, they got the money and they were willing to pay a third of my tuition, and I joined them in their efforts to plant a church, which now is Esperanza Bible Presbyterian Church, which I'm grateful for. So we moved to from Ohio to Florida,
Yeah.
to Orlando area to study at RTS in 2022, where I graduated last year, 2025, in May. And then right after, I was ordained by Bible Presbyterian Church. That's the denomination we are under. Esperanza are under Bible Presbyterian Church.
Yeah.
And the Esperanza Church was planting in many other places with the same story. Brazilian people looking for a healthy church,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of Brazilian churches all around. In
Hmm.
Florida, I believe in Massachusetts is the same,
Yeah.
but the problem is that they're not solid in the doctrine. They are all prosperity gospel and this kind of things. So, uh, and the Brazilians, a lot of them could not connect well in an American church because of the culture. Some of them don't even speak the language, but they feel like they come in and out and nobody talk to them. So they started reaching out to Esperanza, and now I think we are the fifth church plant through Esperanza Orlando.
Yeah.
And the first one was in Tampa, which was particularized last year as well. And, with that, I didn't have plans to be a pastor, but as I said, but joining Esperanza made me change my mind, and having a team with me uh, changed my mind also about being a church planter, because my ideal scenario was I'm going to graduate and I'm going to become an associate pastor
Mm.
to learn with these guys to get some experience. But at the same time, there was a lot of Brazilians looking for a pastor,
Mm.
and I had the title, I had the study. I was like, well, Lord, if that's what you want of me,
Yeah.
here I am. My wife and I prayed about it, and we decided to join this adventure.
Yeah.
So right off seminary, becoming a church planter in Jacksonville.
Hearing you tell your story, maybe there are three things that I want to kind of focus on, which is I think the first one is that you were obviously, well, you felt called to be a missionary first
Hmm.
and then a pastor. I think this is something we can explore a little bit more because maybe there's somebody watching us who feels called to a different kind of ministry
Hmm.
and not
Hmm.
pastoral ministry. But you know, the Lord works in mysterious ways and different ways to each one of us. I think this is one. Another one, and I'll just tell you that so you can also help me remember, which is the idea of seminary. I want to talk
Hmm.
about your experience at RTS, and before that, actually, I want to talk about your experience with Athletes in Christ and your experience in Senegal. Maybe there's a cool story there that you can share and things like that. So maybe I think my question would be: you were called to be a missionary first,
Hmm.
and when that you felt you know convicted that you wanted to become a missionary and things like that, has pastoral ministry ever crossed your mind, or you were set like I'm going to do this for life, I'll be a missionary for life?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. Uh, at the time, it didn't cross my mind. I didn't want to become a pastor. I couldn't see myself behind an office desk as many pastors are, unfortunately.
Mm.
from some point. Of course, you have to have office hours
Right.
to study, to prepare, to counsel. That's good, but
Hmm.
you cannot only stay there. You need to go meet your people where they are.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to be that guy like preparing a weekly sermon. I never saw myself in that position. So at the missionary call, it didn't cross my mind being a pastor, but one wise elder from my church back in Brazil, he told me, you should go to seminary, even if you're not going to be a pastor. You should prepare yourself to be a great missionary. And we can look to guys like Ronaldo Lidorio. You and I know who he is, a
Yeah.
great Brazilian missionary, but he is also a great theologian.
Yeah.
And that helps him to become a great missionary. So I should have listened to that guy because I regret it years later not going to seminary. But as I was doing ministry, I felt the need of continuing in my theological studies. I did a online course back in Brazil, a bachelor degree, but it
Hmm.
wasn't enough to prepare myself for what was ahead. So as I I dive deep in the in missiology, I thought I needed more, and that's how like getting more involved with theology. Uh, I think it was natural wanting to be a pastor, but I think there's a key moment where I realized that the mission is to the church and through the church.
Mm.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of paralegal organizations that they have the best intention,
Yeah.
good motives, but in my opinion they're not doing the best strategy because they're trying to do their own thing. They do a great evangelism, but then what?
Yeah.
Then they don't connect to the church.
Hmm.
So I think the mission is given to the church and should be accomplished through the church.
Hmm.
That's why I like being in that strategy in Athletes in Action, because they were doing something through the church and not something separate.
Yeah.
And in all that process through the years, I realized that's where I wanted to be, because that's where the mission's going to be accomplished. Like, it's through the church. We are the ones sending missionaries. We are the one receiving people. We are the ones discipling people. I'm not saying it's not important what missionaries are doing. What I'm saying is that missionaries should always do something connected to the church.
Yeah.
And if they are new, they're doing something in a place where there's no church, then their goal should be to establish a church in that place,
Yeah.
not just share the gospel and leave. So I think that's the best way to go and naturally transition to the the wanting to become a pastor. But not only that, there's an internal call and the external call. That
Mhm.
was my that was pretty much the internal call. But in them at that moment, I heard from different people that I should pursue being a pastor. That was
Yeah.
like they saw me as a pastor in the future, the way I cared for people, the way I love to teach the Bible. So it,
Yeah.
there was no way to hide from it anymore.
Yeah. I like it how it's different for everyone, you know. I'm sure you've had these conversations too with different pastors, and the calling happens in a way similarly to everybody, but
Hmm.
in other ways different as well. I remember I was, you know, I had a desire to study and to become a pastor, but I didn't tell anybody. Just my wife knew. And there were people at church saying, "Hey, you should lead this. You should lead the teens. You should preach. You should do this." I'm like, why are these people even saying this? But
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
external call happening as well. And I think one of the points that you mentioned too was like the balance, and I want to touch on that subject too. The balance of, you have people who want to become missionaries, and they are so eager to spread the gospel that they, completely disregard the classroom. And why am I going to waste
Hmm.
4 years of my life in seminary?
Yeah.
You can preach for 4 years, and on
Yeah.
the other hand,
Unfortunately, I was that guy.
yeah, right. And on the other hand, you have people, let's say, like me, for example, who love theology, and I have no problems with the classroom. I have no problems in reading my books and
Yeah,
exegeting my Greek and my Hebrew. It's fine. It's fun. I love it. But I need to find a balance too of going out there and preaching the gospel and being a
yeah.
missionary too. So
Well, that's really good because I was the opposite of you. I didn't want to be seated in a classroom. At the time, I thought I was going to waste 4 years of my life because I knew what I wanted. I know how to share the gospel. Let me go. Like, let me do it.
yeah,
But I didn't know what I was doing. As I said, I regret. But I'm very practical. I was never a guy that wanted to be reading my books, as you said. So it was a struggle for me to do an MD, especially my second language. But I know the importance of it. I know how important it is to know your theology, to know the sound doctrine, to know the Bible, because we don't believe that any kind of gospel that people are preaching out there saves. It is
yeah,
the true gospel. It is the true Jesus. And if you don't know him, if you don't know through the scriptures, if you don't know your Bible, how can you share with others a Jesus that you don't know about? So I see the importance of sound doctrine for not just for sharing your faith, but also to understand what is the church, why God uses the church, what are the structures that He pointed us to be a healthy church, and how to disciple, how to what is important in discipleship, what is not important. I cannot say you only gonna know through seminary, but you're gonna, it's like a shortcut that the seminary gives you, like saves you time, because you can sometimes realize by yourself as you do ministry in a practical way. I believe you learn a lot from doing, and maybe that's the kind of person I am. But there are things that seminary is like a shortcut, as I said,
mhm,
that I could not learn by myself as quickly as seated on a classroom with other people studying the same text, and hustle with the passage in front of us and the differences people would bring, like even the different thoughts we have with the professor mediating some conversations.
yeah,
So I know there's a lot of value in spending time at a seminary. And 4 years at the time, I thought about it like when I was a youth, it felt like a long time, but now it's like 4 years. It's only 4 years, you know.
yes,
It's like you sharpening the knife or whatever you're gonna use to cut
totally,
to make things easier.
yeah.
Um,
It
Otherwise, I was trying to to put it down a tree with a machete that wasn't as sharp as it should
mhm.
be. Took a lot longer to get there.
Yeah. So let's say that there's a youth, a teen or a young adult in your church, and he says, "I want to be a missionary." Would your first um, piece of advice for this person would it be to for them to go to seminary?
Yeah, yeah. Piece of advice. Yeah, I would first try to understand why he wants to be a missionary, and try to understand what does he understand is the mission, and uh, where is his heart.
Mhm.
But if I understood he was serious about it and the Lord was calling him, then the first piece of advice would be, okay, so go study, go invest, not waste 4 years of your life in a seminary, and then you will be way more prepared than if you go. Like, it took me, I think, let me think, I joined ministry 2013,
Mhm.
and I just graduated in 2025. So it
Mhm.
took me 12 years to get there. And I wish I had spent the first 4 years in a seminary.
Yeah.
And then the next 8 years would be way better. I wouldn't say easier, but better, because I knew better.
Yeah. You would be more equipped. You would have
That's right.
more
That's right.
tools.
That's a better way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very pro seminary too. I think it's a very important. Um, concept that we have developed as the church throughout
Hmm.
the years, and I think it's great. So your time in seminary was at RTS, right?
That's right.
Which for us reformed, you know, nerds, is a great seminary. People look at RTS as one of the top seminaries out there, and
And
I would like.
so you have an idea. I didn't even know about it,
Oh wow.
like because I'm not the nerd out there. And then when I said I was going to RTS to a friend who is a Reformed pastor, he said, "You're going to one of the best seminaries in the
Yeah,
world." I'm like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, this is great." I'm like, "Yeah, this is great."
that's funny.
But that but that meant I had to study a lot too.
Yeah, yeah. With
But
there is
it's
a
good.
reason why they're so good.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. It was good. It was hard, but it was good.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to make. Maybe you could comment a little bit about how was your experience there, RTS, your
Mhm.
professors, any like classes that you really enjoyed.
First of all, I want to give you some context. That's why, of course, it's hard, even if you are an American not struggling financially and you are single. That's a hard thing to do,
Yeah,
especially if you have to do in 3 years, as I had to do because I'm an immigrant. But that's the context. Like, I'm coming to a seminary with my second language. I think it was good enough, but I realized it wasn't as good when I had to learn my third and fourth language, Greek and Hebrew, in my second language. I
yeah,
thought that would be great because I already knew a second language. So the third, people say it's easier, but I was learning with the English grammar that is not as
yeah.
my good for me.
No, and
And then
it's one thing you learning a language for you to speak that language.
that's right.
Another thing is for you to learn a language that is completely dead. It's just
Yeah.
instrumental.
So it was that's why I say it's super hard. And I came with my wife, and my son was less than 2 years old when we moved.
Hmm.
And then she was pregnant of our second child. So we had two babies being born in these 3 years and a half in seminary. I don't know what the Lord wanted with that, but it was crazy. It was the craziest 3.5 years of our lives for sure. I don't know if anything will beat that.
Were you a full
But
time student?
yes,
Hmm.
yes. I had to be. The way they design as an
Mhm.
immigrant with the scholarship that I had to be a full time.
So at least what, two classes per term or three or more?
I had to do 6, 7.
No, brother. What?
Yes, sir. Which I don't advise no anyone to do that way. It was good that I finished quickly because it's 106 credits. But if if I could choose, like I would split that in. Probably I would double the time I did it to have a better learning. Like the subject would sink more. I didn't have time for that. Even if I write a paper and I don't think it's as good, I had to turn it in that way because there's no time to redo that one because I have a second, a third, a fourth that I have to do. I have a book to finish, like all the time. It was crazy. It was crazy. But the Lord is good, man. He gave me a job at the library, which it was through that I was able to pay my tuition. And through that, I was able to study. I would say out of the 20 hours I was at the library weekly, I was studying like 15 hours.
Yeah,
The job wasn't that hard. You
yeah,
just have to be there if people need you, but people
sure.
don't need you as often. So it was
Amen.
great. And then going back to your question now with all the context, so it was hard, but what I really liked was the biblical classes. I loved learning straight from the Bible.
Mhm.
I loved the systematic theology as well. I was never a good student in history, but I really liked history of the church. But I struggled a lot, as I mentioned, with the languages.
Yeah.
That was super
As you
tough.
mentioned, the languages for people who are single, fresh out of college, that's their only job is to
Yeah,
learn Greek and Hebrew. It's already difficult. Imagine for us.
that's right. I was feeling like we say a fish out of the water, right?
Yeah,
I was because I was in the middle of a lot of single guys that are nerds, and I
yeah,
was nothing like them. But the Lord was gracious to me. The professors were gracious to me as
yeah,
well, and
yeah.
here I am.
This is so important, and this is one of the things that seminary really differs from other institutions. It's the grace given by professors and by the institution in general, because I guess everybody understands where we're coming from. Seminary
Hmm.
is a place where you'll have 24-year-olds, who are
That's
single,
right.
and you're going to have 42-year-olds who have
Yeah,
three kids at home. And, they have a full-time job. And
that's right.
I did my seminary in many years. So I started in 2018 and I just finished right now because I did one class at a time because I didn't have time to do two, three classes.
Yeah,
I did it
yeah.
now when in this last year because I needed to finish up to because of ordination and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
I don't recommend. This year was really hard for me.
Yeah,
I had to take two classes, three classes at a time. I can't even imagine seven. I
yeah.
can't even
There
see.
were semesters that I had to take 7. Most of the time 6, but
Still,
man,
that's crazy. It's a
it was
lot,
it
but
was crazy.
the Lord got you through it.
That's right. That's right.
Any,
I still have to go back to my books a lot because, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but like it depends where I am at the church, right? So
Mhm,
I know there's a need, there's a lack that I wish there wasn't. There wasn't this gap that is part of me doing it at this rhythm.
mhm,
But I knew it. Like even leaving seminary, I knew it that I'm not. I didn't have done the way I wish I could. So now I know like if I'm gonna teach about this and that, I can go back to that book or I can go. So I know where to go, but sometimes uh, I wish I had that already settled here in my mind.
yeah, but it goes back to the idea of being equipped and the tools that we get at seminary,
Hmm.
and you have those tools already.
I had a great time. Although it was hard, it was a great time. I still miss seminary, although I'm not that nerd as we said, but
Hmm.
I miss seminary. I miss my friends there. Even with the age difference that you mentioned, it was great to
Yeah.
be around like believers that love the Lord, love His word, and He's doing life together on a daily basis. It was great.
Going back to the mission field, and is there any like good stories that you have from your time at Senegal, or maybe with athletes in Christ? Any sports
Athletes in action.
evangelism situation?
There are many, but it depends what you want. There's a story that I almost died, and
Okay,
there's
tell me that one. Let's start with that one.
we were there in Senegal in the middle of nowhere, not in Dakar, but far away. Uh, and we were working like physical work,
Okay.
building a place where that place would receive kids that were taken out of the streets
Mm,
and they were under the influence of a guy, a spiritual leader that is known as Marabu. And these guys, like, they almost make the kids slaves of them. Like they
damn.
had to get money and bring to them, and they have no food. They are starving, and they cannot eat anything. They cannot use the money, and if they don't bring the money to them on a daily basis, they get spanked, and it is bad. It's terrible. But what happens is that it's a poor country, and they even go to poorest countries around, like Guinea-Bissau,
Mm,
and they come to a father of 10 that has no money to provide for his family, and they say, hey, we're going to take care of your kid. He's going to learn the Quran, and he's going to be fed and have a place to sleep, so we can take care of him. And the parents just give the kids away to these guys, and then they bring these kids and make them uh, ask for money on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then the missionaries come and try to save these kids, not just spiritually, but even physically
Yeah.
from the hands of these guys. But there's a spiritual tension. There's a government laws in a Muslim country that don't want them to do it. So there's a lot of things going on there. But at the end of the day, what we were building was a place for these kids that are coming out of the streets with the consent of their parents, a place for them to live, where they were gonna get fed, where they were gonna learn the Bible and learn some some job for the future, like learn to plant or to do anything else that could help them get through it.
Mm-hmm.
So there we were, very dry land. There was a house that was built already, and we were bringing water from the well to the top of the house, and
Mm-hmm.
we do it through a motor that pumps water from the well to the top of the house, but you have to pass a pipe under everything, under where uh, everybody's going to step or cars are going to pass. So I
Mm-hmm.
was just using a small tool to build uh, to to dig a hole where the pipe was going to go through.
Okay.
I never thought about telling this story in English. It's
Yeah.
so hard, the particulars about
You're
it, but
doing great. I was impressed with when you actually was able to explain that, because I'm like, if he asks me, tools in English, I don't know. I don't know many.
let's go. I'll try. I'll keep trying.
You
My
did great.
bad. And then I was close to the house using that small tool, uh, and hitting the ground and cleaning some rocks with my hands, making a hole for the pipe. And then there was one time I did it, and when I was gonna clean with my hand a rock, I saw the rock moving, shaking. And then I took my hands off, and there was a snake, a black mamba, coming under it. Like, and I've learned later on that was the second more dangerous snake that I can cross.
My goodness.
And a friend of mine, I started uh, calling them, like shouting, "Hey, there's a snake, snake, snake!" And a friend of mine had a bigger tool, and he was close by. He saw the snake and got in its head, and it was enough to kill it. But she was there moving around for like 15 minutes. When they grabbed her from the tail, there were like seven little frogs that fell. So the missionary that were there for 20 years, they got more experience. He came to me and said, "Do you know what snakes this?" And I have no idea. This is a black mamba. You would die in 15 minutes if she got you.
My
You probably would have time to say bye to your mom by phone, and that's it. But I don't believe I would, because I was in the middle of nowhere. So
God.
so the Lord protect me on
Yeah.
that one. But that was a situation of almost death. What I have to say is that sometimes you won't see the fruit.
Mm.
This missionary were there for years and years, and he had just one here, another there to
Mm.
tell. In this period of time that was short, I was there 3 months. There was one of the guys that were playing in my team that he said he was considering becoming a Christian, but we don't know what that is. Like back in Brazil, considering being a Christian is totally different than considering becoming a Christian in Senegal. Because
Yeah.
in Brazil, you become a Christian and that's it. Pretty much nothing changed in your life regarding where you live,
Mm-hmm.
the way you relate to your family, jobs that you get. It doesn't change anything. Or in America.
Yeah.
Uh, but in Senegal, if you decide to claim you're a believer, then your family's gonna put you out in the streets.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get a job. So this thing. So I didn't see him if he made a decision, if he came to Christ or not. I left before it. I hope he did. But the point is that um, it is hard. It takes years, and sometimes you won't see the fruit.
Yeah.
But as Apostle Paul said, right? I planted, or Apollos. I don't know the. Help me out with the English word.
Watered the plant.
Watered. Yeah, one plants, the other water, but the fruit comes from the Lord. So another story is that one of the guys that were playing my team, his name is Demba. He is one of these guys who came from another country that is close by Senegal, and he spoke Creole at the time, which is close enough to Portuguese that if he spoke slowly, I could understand some,
Okay.
because he studied in a missionary school from Brazilians. So there were some connections there.
Okay.
And later on, I was in ministry already with Athletes in Action, and I had him on Facebook. And this guy that was part of my team, I he was helping me already, but he was just one of the players among many. And then I saw that he moved to Brazil, and he started attending a seminary. I
Mm.
was like, this is great. And then I talked to him, and he's like, yeah, man, I came to study and I want to go back to share the gospel to
Wow.
my people and all. So he
Praise
got
God.
married to a Brazilian. He finished his degree and he went back to Senegal. Right now, he's with the church in Dakar, which is the capital, and he's planting another church in Embour, and he's sending an evangelist to that city.
Hmm.
Uh, and they were asking for help, financial help to sustain to help this guy to get through. So within our church right now, we are sending money to Senegal to help the project of this guy that I used to be his coach in soccer.
Wow.
So it was amazing when I got the connections. Like, I didn't go to him, although I knew he was back in Senegal.
Yeah.
Somebody else visited Esperanza Church and said, hey, there's this project in Senegal. I said, who's the pastor? Demba. I'm like, I know this guy. And he said they need help to send another pastor, local pastor, to Embour. I said, I know this city. And
Um,
then how much do they need? $200. Like, for them is a lot of money.
yeah.
Well, for us too, but I mean, to pay the entire budget that they need,
Hmm.
it's nothing. Like,
Yeah.
considering that as a church to raise $200. So I'm so happy that we are a church plant, but we already have the heart for mission, and we are investing in this project, and we can help. And even happier that the Lord connected the dots there, like a
Yeah.
place where I have been. Uh, I don't even know how long ago, 2000 and 2010, I've been there. So it has been now 15, 16 years, and
Hmm.
now we are helping them.
Praise God.
Praise the Lord. Yeah, praise
Yes.
the Lord.
So good. And now you're a church planter.
That's
A
right.
church in Jacksonville. Uh,
Hmm.
and how long have you been there at Jacksonville? How's the church planting
Hmm.
situation going? And how does that differ from being a missionary? Because now you are a church planting family. It's
Hmm.
you, your wife, obviously, your kids.
Oh yeah.
You were a a missionary family as well back in the day. So how does that
Hmm.
differ?
Yeah, good question. So I'll start from the beginning. I'm involved with the work here in Jacksonville since its beginning, somehow, but more intentionally or directly since March 2024.
Hmm.
So there was this family coming from Jacksonville to Orlando to worship with us because they could not find a Brazilian church here that they would consider a healthy church, and they could not uh, get along within an American church because The wife doesn't speak English as well as the husband, and because they didn't make good connections with the churches that they have tried. So
Mhm.
they were traveling 2 hours down to Orlando to worship with us on a regular basis, like weekly basis, but
Mhm.
asking for help. So they started gathering other couples, other families, other friends that were within the same situation. Say, hey, I've met this church. They're willing to help, but we need more people. Don't you want to know more about this church? So at the end of the day, they they were able to get about 8 families to a meeting,
Mhm.
and we came all the way from Orlando. I was there in Orlando, and I I didn't have an idea I was going to be a church plant. As I mentioned at the beginning, I didn't want that. It wasn't on my plans. But I told Pastor Samuel, "Hey, what's going on in Jacksonville?" He said, "Well, there's this meeting. Don't you want to come?" I said, "Sure, let's go." So I came to him, and at that meeting specifically, my wife wanted to come as well. She was like, "Oh, I'm tired of being home. Let's go together." And then we got in the car and we came to Jacksonville, and we realized there was like it was about 20 some people,
Mhm.
and we did a service together.
Mhm.
And Pastor Samuel asked me to pray. My wife, she's a musician,
Mhm.
so when he knew she was coming, he asked her to bring her guitar and to sing and to play, and we were involved uh, in on that day. And towards the end, we after the service, we said, "Okay, let's talk." And we opened a, a circle, and people started sharing, and they all had the same story. Oh, we are tired of the Brazilian church here. It's not the sound doctrine.
Yeah.
We need a church like Esperanza. We are we tried American churches, but it doesn't work with our culture.
Yeah.
They all have this had the same stories. And I'm there in seminary preparing to be a pastor. In my mind, an assistant pastor, a youth pastor, whatever, not a church planter. And I'm listening to that and say, Lord, what are you doing? Like these people needs a pastor. I'm here studying to be a pastor. How can I say no to this? So started praying. Pastor Samuel before that already have asked me about church plant. I said, no, this is not for me. I need to get some experience before I think about it.
Mhm.
And then on that day, something something changed. I think not specifically on that day, but on the way back home, started talking to my wife like, did you see that? It's unbelievable. A lot of people want to be in a good church. We
Yeah.
are part of a good church in Orlando that it's willing to help. I'm studying to be a pastor. Maybe the Lord is doing something here. So let's start praying about it. And I believe 1 or 2 months later, I don't know, maybe more time. I'm not good with this. If I talk to my wife, she might say 6 months. Like,
Yeah. They always know more. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how much time it took, but so sometime later, talking to her, praying about it, seeking advice, I decided to come to Pastor Samuel and say, "Hey, we're willing to, with your help, like with Esperanza's help. I would need a lot of help because I don't have any experience on this, but if you guys are willing, I'm willing to step up and help with that." So once they said, "Good," like uh, that's good. We were waiting for you. We wanted you to do it, but you said before you didn't want it, so we were waiting for this. Now that you want it, great, let's do it. And then they said, I think it was me actually. I said, well, since since I'm gonna be the church planter, I I believe it's best for me to transition from the small group that I am. We call it family group that I
Mhm.
am right now in Orlando, and become the small group leader there in Jacksonville. Because after that meeting, that first meeting, they started a small group here in Jacksonville, and they were meeting on a weekly basis. And I was leading a group in Orlando. I said it doesn't make sense for me to lead this group knowing that I'm gonna be their pastor in the future.
Yeah.
I want to hang out with them. It's gonna be a lot of effort because I from that time, I had to start meeting with them on a weekly basis and travel
Yep.
while doing seminary. I listened to a lot of books on the way, like,
What, 2 hours? 2 hours to go, 2 hours to come back?
yeah,
Man.
4 hours a week every Friday.
Mhm.
Since March 2024, I started coming here,
Mhm.
coming to Jacksonville up here, and then it took me a year and 2 months to graduate, and these people were with me. But it was good to have a core group.
Yes.
Uh, that was that's where or when I developed my core group. We had a quick but good time of retreat together in January, and then I graduated in May and moved right after. Like, I think May 26th was my graduation. June 2nd, I was moving.
Cool.
Oh, and then June 8th was the first service in person.
Mhm.
In June 22nd was my ordination.
Oh, wow.
It was like boom,
Uh,
boom, boom. Last year was crazy, man. Last year was crazy. A lot has happened. So we started 6 months ago with about 25 people, the core group,
yeah.
and now we are reaching not membership, but people that are often attending the church. We have about 60 now,
Wow.
which
Amazing.
is a blessing. Yeah, but the average attendance, because we don't always have all of them together,
Yeah.
it it has been 50 now,
Incredible.
which
Praise the
is,
Lord.
praise the Lord, it's a blessing. And
Yeah.
I know that's not how you measure the health of a church, by its numbers, but numbers are important too, especially if you're planting a church. You need people, right?
Yeah, of course.
But I don't want to measure by the number of people. I want to measure by how deep and solid they are
Yeah.
in scripture, how where they are placing their faith, what do they trust, how are their families going, how are their kids going. That's for me, it's a better statistic.
Yeah.
But I know we need people.
Yeah. And so for the future pastors out there who might be feeling like, I'm doing this at church, it has nothing to do with, you know, pastoring people or, um, be encouraged because the Lord has his ways.
Yeah, just do your best.
Yeah.
Just do your best and trust the Lord, and go study. Go
Yeah.
prepare yourself. Go
That's very,
prepare yourself so you don't have to do it all in 3 years and a half.
yeah. So there's a question that I like to end with this question, which is if you could look back and have a one-on-one conversation with the young Filipe Manoel
Hmm.
back in São Paulo, in the countryside of São Paulo. What was it again? Araraquara.
Araraquara. Yeah.
Araraquara. What would you say to that? Oh no, that future pastor. What would you tell them?
Listen to your elder and go to seminary. That would be a good advice, I believe.
Yes, there is a
Uh,
reason why God put good elders in the.
that's right. That's right. I already told him about it. I said, I don't know if you remember about this conversation, but I do. And I regret not listening to you at that time. But
Yeah,
thanks the Lord, he got me, and I've been to seminary and I'm a pastor. And I know they it's a dear family that I used to grow with his daughters at the church and everything, like really good family connected to my family. And I know they are happy for me, and they are following. Here and there I receive a message from them like, hey, we're praying for you. So the Lord is good.
that's cool.
Although we sometimes he call us to Nineveh and we go to Tarshish, but but he brings us back to wherever he wants us. So
Nice. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Um, and speaking of Jonah, I'm actually going to preach through Jonah uh, starting this Sunday,
that's
and
awesome.
we're gonna go through the whole book, hopefully in around 8 Sundays. Great book.
That's awesome. It is a great book.
So,
We here at Esperanza, I don't know if you have seen it, but we have a moment for the kids because we want them to stay with us, stick with us during service.
mhm,
So we have a 5 minutes conversation with them, bringing the points of the sermon. And this past Sunday, I was preaching Psalm 130,
mhm.
and the points were perfect to tell the story of Jonah. Like,
Oh,
so that's what I did with the kids.
yeah.
It's one of my kids' favorite stories. They here and there they ask for me to talk about it. It
Yes.
is, yeah, the word of the Lord is
Yeah.
amazing. It is great.
Yes. And much like Jonah, we might feel that we are doing our own thing, like
That's
this is
right.
what I'm supposed to do. But then the Lord is sovereign. He has his ways, and he's gonna he's gonna do what he pleases.
That's right. And I'm thankful for that.
Yeah,
I don't want to do my own thing. I want to do his thing.
exactly. I had a friend who used to say, I wish I was a robot. I wish I was a robot in the hands of the Lord.
Yeah.
Make
Like,
me a puppet. It's fine.
right. Right. A lot of people don't want to be that, but I think it would
Exactly.
be way easier.
Because people say, "Oh my gosh, the Lord didn't make you a robot."
Yeah.
He's like, "I wish I was one."
Yeah. I can
Anyway,
relate to that.
yeah. So, Felipe, my guy, thank you so much for coming into this podcast slash YouTube video. I don't even know what this is gonna be exactly, but
Mhm.
thank you for accepting the invitation. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a
And
pleasure to meet you and to be part of it.
yeah, and if people want to know more about Esperanza Jacksonville, where are you guys meeting? What time? Social media, things like that. Please just tell
Yeah,
us.
the best way to find us and know what's going on is through Instagram. We do have a website. We do have a Facebook page as well. But I think the most updated, what you're gonna get more from us is on Instagram. You go Esperanca, right? With the C, Esperanca Jax, and you can find us. We're meeting right now on Sunday mornings at 10 p.m. And I'm not even gonna say the address because we are probably moving in February to
Mhm.
another place, and I don't have the address right here in my mind. But there, you're gonna have all the information you need to meet us.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, appreciate it.